what's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. It's your host, Double B, a.k.a. Brent Bilski, a.k.a. the 110 Soldier. All right, today I'm going to talk more about the Cheryl Swoops, Caitlin Clark beef and everything going down with that. I want to talk LeBron and Bronny. I love NBA. I love WNBA, but it's NFL season. It's here. No more jokes, no more nonsense. It is actually here. Starting off tomorrow, we got today, if it's the recording, AFC rematch, Baltimore and Kansas City, the big rematch on Thursday. And then Friday, the Love Hurts game, they're calling it. We got Green Bay versus Philly. Love Hurts based on the quarterbacks, get it? It's going to be in Brazil, which I think is interesting. And on a Friday, but in Brazil. You know, it's already players are worried. Darius Slay got in trouble, said, I'm not inviting my family to this bullshit. Are you kidding me? They already told him, like, hey, stay in your hotels. Don't dick around. So I thought that was, an interesting place to pick. And then on a Friday, they asked Roger Goodell, NFL commissioner, about it, and they said, look, you already own, Sundays, Mondays, Fridays, now Saturdays after college football. You're the most profitable sports organization in the entire world. Why do you need to send them to someplace that's not just, unsafe, but also maybe unnecessary? I thought he had an interesting response to that.
Give me it, it's mine! Give me that, it's mine!
They just got to keep making more money, I guess. But it's going to be good, so it starts tomorrow or today, depending on when you see this. And I'm so excited for it, like Jesse Spano on Saved by the Bell. And, the one thing I wanted to get into to start things off, though, before we get into, it's a long season. There's a lot of things to discuss. The first topic I want to remind people is off this picture based right here. Pop it up for me, Corey. It's just week one. It's just week one.
Wait! We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure.
Try to relax. Try to remember it's just week one, and we'll see. It's a long season, man. It's 17 games now. There's only 3 preseason games. Now with contract disputes and things that happen, Trent Williams just signed. CeeDee Lamb just signed. Teams can get off to slow starts. Other teams can get off to hot ones. There's injuries. There's things that happen. It is a long time, man. This season is going till February. Do not freak out if your team gets too hot or too cold to start the season off. It's one of my pet peeves because plenty of teams have started off either slow and ended up winning or started off fast and ended up losing. But because we get so excited because we've waited literally, it's going to be 210 days by the time your team last played football. And that's even if it was just the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So it could have been longer than that. Over 200-something days, you've been waiting for football. You've been watching the draft. You watched the preseason, the training camp. You did all the fantasy. You looked everything up, and you're all excited for the game. Then you lose game one, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, our season's over. Everything's wrong. Our whole team sucks. Fire everybody. And just, it's week one. I have to remind you guys, again, some teams have started slow and won. Other teams, conversely, have started fast and lost. Slow starts, just to give you some fun facts here, 5 teams, 5 of them have won the Super Bowl after a 1-2 start. The last one were the 2018 Patriots. The 2001 Patriots actually were 3-4. They went on to win the Super Bowl. 2000 Ravens were 5-4, ended up going on to win the Super Bowl. I know everyone dreads the 0-2 start. That's the big, they have a high percentage of that there. If your team starts off 0-2, only 10% of them since 1970 have made the playoffs, but that's still 39 teams that have started off with their first 2 games of the season being a loss, but still go on. 4 of those teams appeared in the Super Bowl. 3 of those won. I could point out, other teams, 2013 Steelers, they started off 0-4. They just missed the playoffs and were actually replaced by the Chargers, who got into their spot. They started off 2-3 on the season. The 2015 Kansas City Chiefs were 1-5 to start the season off. They went on to win a playoff game. The 2018 season, I got 3 examples here for you. The Seahawks started off the dreaded 0-2. The Philadelphia Eagles were 2-3. The Texans started off 0-3, and even the next 2 games after that were 2 overtime wins. So their first 5 games were either losses or close as shit. They went on to 11-5 and made the playoffs. So, it doesn't mean just because you lose this upcoming game or the next week that your whole season's over. You can still make the playoffs, believe it or not.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs?
Love Jim Mora. But conversely, on the other side, teams have gotten off to fast starts too, so don't get too, JoJo the Indian boy with the pretty new pet, to quote Tommy Boy, don't get too excited just because your team gets off to a fast start. I know because most teams, it's 65 to 70% since 1990. The teams that start off 2-0 actually make the playoffs. But, just look last year. The Eagles started off 10-1. They looked like they were going to kick everyone's ass all the way to the Super Bowl, and I only have a real challenge to get the Chiefs. They lose 6 of their last 7. They get blown out by Tampa in the the wild card. Now, that was a huge collapse, but they're from far the only ones. I mean, the 2020 Raiders, they went from 6-3 to 8-8. They didn't make the playoffs. The Steelers started off 11-0 in 2020. Then they lost 4 of 5 and then were embarrassed by Cleveland at home in the wild card, I believe, game it was. The 2007 Lions were 6-2. They ended up being 7-9, missed the playoffs. In 2013, again, the poor Lions, 6-3, ended up being 7-9. They missed the playoffs. 2008 Jets, 8-3. They only went to 9-7. They missed the playoffs. Now, Favre got hurt, but again, injuries happen. 2009 Broncos started off 6-0. They missed the playoffs. 2015 Falcons started off 5-0. They went 8-8. They missed the playoffs. Are you getting my point yet? It's only week 1, so be excited. We've been waiting 200-something days for this. Be into it, enjoy it, sit down, bring family and friends and have yourself a blast, but do not lose your mind over one damn game or 2 damn games. It does not mean anything in a 17-game season with only 3 preseason games and a lot of shit to go.
Right! We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure. We've got too far. There's too much to lose.
I want the chair part.
Keep our composure.
There it is. Keep your composure. It's all going to be fine. So I just wanted to point that out. It's only week 1. Try to relax. But I do want to give at least one more little preseason prediction here, as I wanted to discuss who I think might win the actual NFL awards once the season is over. And so if you can put this up for me, Corey, here, NFL awards predictions. Now, I also am a firm believer that preseason predictions are a lot like masturbation. They're satisfying to the person who put in the work, but the rest of the people don't really care to see it or want to hear about it. But I'm going to give it to you anyway. So here are my top 5 categories that I at least think are the closest to a lock, in my opinion, that are going to happen, and we'll see if I'm able to predict the future. MVP was an easy one for me this year. It's going to go to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, look, don't overthink shit sometimes. The Brady, Belichick years have taught me this. It's boring. I can give you a hot take. I know I'm supposed to, as a sports person, be like, oh, I think that Josh Allen or, Dak Prescott's going to win. No. Is Patrick Mahomes defending from the Super Bowl champions? Has he done that 2 years in a row? Does he still have Andy Reid? Does he still have Travis Kelce? I've learned this from the Patriots. Don't overthink shit sometimes. And actually, he usually responds well to down years. That's another reason that actually it makes sense that he might actually get the MVP this year.
You're the real MVP.
I mean, if you look at it, he had 27 touchdowns and only that was the worst he's had in 4 years, and 14 interceptions last season, even though he did win the Super Bowl. That's actually his worst ever. He's back now with a good offensive line, motivated Travis Kelce. He's got great wide receivers in Brown and Worthy. I can give runners up like Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, maybe a Josh Allen, but I think MVP is pretty easy. It's going to be my man Patrick. It's going to be Patrick.
You're the real MVP.
All right, Defensive Player of the Year. This one's closer, but I will give it to Micah Parsons, Dallas Cowboys. Shout out to the Cowboys. He might be one of the only bright spots of your team this year. But Micah Parsons, who is officially pissed off that he's been ranked number 3 in pass rushers behind Garrett and Watt. But the big thing is he's under a contract year. I will always bet on somebody who's about to try to make that money. This is his first chance to make his big boy money. He's already been a dominant player. I mean, this dude on a good defense is one of the few people you can put all over that defensive line, from the edge rush to linebacker. The defense, again, which is one of the top 5, top 10 defenses in the world, in the NFL at least. The world's dramatic, Noah Lyles. But yeah, so he is, he's somebody you can put all over the place, and he's dominant. He's great. He's looking for his money. I got the Defensive Player of the Year going to Micah Parsons, and runners up, I'll go with Garrett and Watt. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going with Caleb Williams, and I've been talking about Caleb Williams because he fascinated me. I like watching him on Hard Knocks. I didn't know about his attitude, the painted nails, the kind of weird, the crying and all that. He shut me up after 2 preseason games. Caleb Williams is clearly to me now the just premier candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, Bo Nix is okay, but McCarthy got hurt. Daniels, we'll see about Daniels. But I mean, it's not even my opinion. He has the best supporting cast by far of any of the rookies, with Moore, Allen, Odunze, Kmet, DeAndre Swift at running back. The only person I'll throw in there is a non-quarterback that might steal this from him. I'm going to continue to keep an eye on Marvin Harrison Jr. over there in Arizona. I am always a fan of a son of a pro athlete. I'm going to talk about Bronny a little bit later. I love sons of pro athletes. They seem to get things figured out early and know what they're doing. He is a stud himself at wide receiver. If Kyler Murray can figure things out, maybe they can get things done out there. But I'm still going to give it to Caleb. At the comeback player of the year, I'm going to go with Joe Burrow. Not only because I like Joe Burrow, a lot of people want it to be Aaron Rodgers, and I don't like Aaron Rodgers. I find him insufferable. I think he's a douchebag.
Douchebag says what?
The ayahuasca, the nonsense, the political rants, he just gets on my damn nerves, the vax and all that other crap he was doing. So I'm not rooting for Aaron, but also at 40 years old with a bad Achilles injury coming off last season, I don't think it's going to hold up in the first damn place. Joe Burrow is that dude minus the new Slim Shady haircut he's got. He is the Jets. I get it. They have the new improved offensive line. They added Tyron Smith. They of course got Breece Hall and Wilson. I'm just not feeling them, man. And yes, I know Jamar Chase, Burrow's number one, is currently in a contract dispute. He might sit out week 1. That could be a whole thing. Again, it's a long season, but a lot of this is just because I don't like Aaron Rodgers. And so if I have to pick between the two, I think it's going to be between Burrow and Rodgers. I'm going with Burrow because screw Aaron Rodgers.
Douchebag says what?
My show, I can do what I want. Coach of the year to me is an easy one, D'Amico Ryans and the Texans. I am huge on the Texans. I got them only behind the Kansas City Chiefs. And I mean, in just 2 years, this dude has come in and just created an entire new culture, turned them from terrible to contenders in just 2 seasons. I think the AFC South is weak. I think CJ Stroud is on his way to a possible MVP upset maybe of Patrick Mahomes. I got him at number 2. They had Stephon Diggs. They added Mixon. They added Hunter. They're ready. It looks like everything's going in the right direction. I mean, there's a couple other candidates, but I clearly have Ryans at top for the coach of the year. So there you go. Preseason predictions. Enjoy them and do what you want with them. And 8 weeks from now, if I'm totally wrong, I'll pretend like none of this ever happened. Moving on.